Welcome to Latter-day Miracles, where we share true stories of angels and marvels.
Get ready to enjoy accounts from everyday people that remind us of divine love, that we're never truly alone, and the power of faith in these latter days. I'm Haley Hatch-Freeman.
And I'm Misty Smith. Sit back, open your heart, and prepare to be inspired.
Hi, we are so excited to start this podcast. The first few episodes, we're going to tell a little bit about our stories so you can get to know us. And we're just excited to be here with you guys and share some stories of miracles with you.
Okay, so with today being our first day, we're going to talk about Haley's stories. Okay, so Haley Hatch-Freeman is the author of a highly acclaimed book, A Future for Tomorrow, which recounts her remarkable true story. She has also written children's books, including From Head to Tummy, The Simple Truth About Food, Media Messages, Self-Worth, and Real Beauty, as well as her recent release, Lily's Reflection, a true beauty princess story. As a keynote speaker, Haley presents at women's conferences, school conventions, church groups, and more. She raises awareness of the devastating effects of eating disorders and provides insights in a uniquely valuable way, as she is not only educated in this field, but has also experienced and overcome anorexia. Additionally, she mentors women across the globe. Haley has 3 children and is married to her best friend, Brandon. I am so thrilled to share Haley's story with everyone, and I know that she will leave us with inspirational and life-changing messages. So before we get started into your story, can you first tell us why you decided to start your podcast?
Yes, thanks for asking. Yeah, I've done other podcasts and shared my stories on my own, and I thought that was going to be good enough. I didn't think I'd have more to share. I just started feeling more and more prompted that I needed to start my own podcast and share other people's stories of miracles. And not just miracles, but stories of angels too. And I had just started feeling more and more prompted to do that. And at first I was like, no thanks. Heavenly Father, nope, I'm good. That's like a big ask, out of my comfort zone. And I don't think I know how to do that. But I just started feeling more and more prompted to do that. And as I was praying about it and thinking, is this really something you want from me? I had one of the strongest physical manifestations of the spirit I've ever had. Actually, the number one strongest I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Of where the spirit just physically just went through my whole body to the point where it shot me out of my chair. I'm telling you, this is the second would be when I knew I was done having children. And that was second to how strong of a testimony of the witness of this that I had that doing this podcast. And so this was stronger physical, like rush of the spirit telling me I needed to do this podcast. After that, how could I tell Heavenly Father, no,
Right.
no, I'm good.
Don't tell the Lord no.
You're fine. So I'm like, okay. And so I just knew I needed to tell stories of other people's miracles. And the number one thing that I kept feeling really impressed to why to do this, so other people knew what God could do and what he would do for others in their lives. And I think, especially with all the hard times that we're facing as these latter days go on, there's more and more trials. And I think we need to know the miracles that he can and will do for us. And what builds testimony stronger than seeing and knowing from other people what he has done. I think just us everyday people, our neighbor next door, if we see what miracles he has done for them, then it builds our testimonies much stronger to know what we can ask of him to do for us. One of my favorite quotes is from Jeffrey R. Holland. I love him so much. And one of his quotes I love, it says, one of the things that we will become more important to our lives the longer we live is the reality of angels, their work and their ministry. I refer to those more personal ministry angels who are with us and around us, empowered to help us, and who do exactly that. I believe we need to speak of and believe in and bear testimony of the ministering of angels more than we sometimes do.
Yeah.
We know recently how he's talked about even a near-death experience that he's had. And he's just recently started talking more about that. And And it's real. It's real. Angels are real. Miracles are real. And I want to testify of that. So that's why.
It's incredible.
And I have felt very inspired to bring Misty along on this journey with me. And I know you guys will love her.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks, Haley. Let's go ahead and dive into your story, right? That's what this whole thing is about. This is what catapults you into here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have written a book that tells my whole entire story, but I'll just tell what I feel prompted to share with you guys today. So my book is called A Future for Tomorrow, which will tell everything. But it started out when I was 16 years old. I was just starting to feel this depression and darkness and feeling like I wasn't good enough and thinking, oh, like I had this crush on this boy that I was thinking like, oh, maybe he'll like me more if I was thinner or,
Oh, yeah.
and just starting to think like those type of thoughts. And one thing with eating disorders is they call it the 10-headed monster because it's not just one thing that triggers eating disorder. It really takes at least 10 different factors that build it. And it's one of the hardest psychological disorders to treat because it is so multi-layered. So just one of those things was the depression. One of the things was the low self-esteem. There's just so many. One of the things is I happened to have braces put on my teeth that year. And this was the summer after my freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
And I started losing weight just because I wasn't being able to eat as much. And people were giving me a lot of attention saying, oh, you look so good and you lost weight. I hate that comment. I hate those two sentences together. Like, why can't we just say, you look so good? Like,
Yeah, it can make you feel good, but it plays tricks to your mind a little bit.
right. Why can't we just say, you look so healthy, or you look so pretty because you're
so beautiful.
better. Yeah, I hate those two together. You look so good and you lost weight. Like, don't say that anymore. But anyway, that triggered high in me. It became an addiction to hear that. And so that was another seed, one of those 10 monster heads of that disorder. And so that started to play into it. And then I started to feel really guilty when I would eat one piece of pizza. And I would feel so much guilt and remorse for eating. And I'd be like, why do I feel so awful and guilty? Like I have sinned, like I've committed an evil act. Well, wait, I just ate pizza. So why? So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to swear I'm going to never eat a piece of pizza ever again because I have to repent because I felt guilty and sinful when I ate that. And so repenting would mean to swear I'm never going to do it again.
Sure.
So I had it out. And it was so interesting how I connected almost religious connection to eating. I looked back at it and what do you see on TV? Have you ever seen commercials saying guilt-free
Yes.
ice cream?
Yes.
Oh, it's guilt-free. Why? Oh, because it's bad for you. Oh,
Oh,
so if I eat both that ice cream, I should feel guilty.
yeah.
Or there's menus at restaurants that say this is the guilt-free menu. And because it's the lower fat and lower calorie side of the menu. So what messages are we sending subliminally into our minds all the time, but to our youth even? They're picking this up. So I internalized that meant eating these certain food related to guilt and wrongdoing because I was a perfectionist. Again, another head on the monster was being perfectionist. I wanted to always do right. I wanted to be pure and clean. And when I ate, I felt contaminated.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's what started like this eating disorder. And it just evolved from not just eating the pizza, but then eating a sandwich or eating an entire apple. Ugh, starting to horrible. But maybe if I ate half the apple, I wouldn't feel so bad.
Wow, even an apple.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
That's amazing.
It just evolved and just got worse and worse. And then I was over exercising and so the eating disorders started taking over my life and it was just my obsession with everything. It was just, I couldn't stop thinking of anything else but what I ate and how much I'd exercised and it just was consuming my entire life. I was doing it so dramatically too. And I started out at just a normal healthy weight. And so I was losing weight too fast. So in just a short amount of time, like in about a year, I lost half of my weight, which I started out at a normal weight.
Wow.
I was down to half of my weight, which was severely anorexic looking. It was horribly
I
thin.
mean, that's half of your weight.
Yeah, when I'm supposed to be gaining weight because I was
Right.
16. So I should have been gaining instead of losing. What happens with the brain is because our brain is made out of a lot of fat and it needs nutrients in our lining and our nervous system and everything. It needs fat and oils to work. And without that, my brain started breaking down. I couldn't think as much. I couldn't think clearly. And my hair was falling out and my skin was dying and sloughing off. And I was just getting so sick. And my parents kept coming to me and saying, you need help, and push for it. But they knew something was off. But they didn't quite understand it. And I was struggling with some other health issues too. And so I'm thinking maybe it was that. And they were just, but they,
So did you understand that you had this happening, like
um,
anorexia?
I think at first I didn't. And then eventually I did. I remember I had a health book and it was talking about eating disorders, but it was this long, this much, a the book about eating anorexia. I remember it said, and it had a before and after picture, and it had a picture of her before or during her eating disorder, and she looked sickly, right? Too
Okay.
skinny. And her after, she looked so much healthier and happier. And I remember thinking, it was the first time in my life I thought, what? Skinnier isn't better? Because she looked better, not so skinny.
Right.
And that was the first time in my life that I thought, well, can thinner not be better?
Hmm.
And that was really, really powerful for me. And that's why when I go speak at schools or any youth group, I always put my picture in of when I was sick and then a year later when I was healthy, because I want them to see that. I want them to have that aha moment of, oh, wait, being skinnier isn't always better. It's not necessarily healthier. It doesn't look better. And because that was so powerful for me. So when I saw that, I remember thinking, and when I read this little paragraph, this big thing, I was thinking, wait, do I have a disorder? And then I'm like, no. So I was in denial for a long time.
Okay.
There was one point where I finally realized. Another thing when I was starting to lose weight and I hated myself, I hated my body, I hated everything about me. We had mirrors that were these cabinet mirrors,
Okay.
and you could open them up and you could put things inside the cabinet. But if you closed them in like this, like it made like a triangle, like, and you couldn't see a mirror image anymore because it was the way it would open up the two cabinets, and so when you trapped that in, you couldn't see a reflection anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I'd always make it to the bathroom, close up the reflection like that, and then shower. So I would never ever see my reflection for months and months and months and months.
Oh
And months.
my God.
Then that way I could live in my denial. I could just live in my disease. I would never have to see what was happening to me.
Right.
So one time I decided to look at my reflection and to see what was happening. And I left it open. And that's when I saw that I was nothing but a skeleton.
Did you accept that at that point,
So
or was
that
it scary?
it did. It scared me. I remember looking forward and I could see, you don't realize that you actually have like flesh and tissue on your face and your forehead,
Mhm.
but it was completely gone. Like I could see veins popping out through my forehead and I could see the sunken cheeks and the sunken face. And I had no flesh left on my face even. And I could see that my arms were just, the joints of my elbow were large compared to the flesh. There's just bone everywhere. There was no flesh left on my body. And it hurt. It hurt to be that thin because you had no protection. The fat you have on your body protects you. And so I remember it's being like excruciating just to sit down because the bones in my bottom would just dig in and make bruises and dig into my flesh. If you just bump yourself, you don't realize that just functioning through the day. You bump your shoulder, you bump your arms, you bump your elbow, and they just hurt all the time. I'd just be covered in bruises.
Wow.
And then my back would just be covered in bruises because laying on a bed would hurt. I would have no protection of any flesh.
Even the bed.
Wow. And then I'd have a lot of swelling. My body didn't know what to do with the fluid, and I just have a lot of swelling in my knees and ankles. That day that I saw my reflection in the mirror, I was showering and I could feel my heart like barely beating. I could tell it was struggling. I could tell my body wanted to die. It couldn't live anymore in that state. And that's when I came out of the shower and I just hit the floor and I just was crying to him, praying to Heavenly Father. And he said, okay, I know I need help. I know I'm dying. I know I can't live like this anymore.
Mhm.
And I said, if you help me live, literally from this moment, make it out of the shower, out of this bathroom and not die, because that was to the point where my heart, I could tell it was going to just stop beating. Then I promise I'll go to my parents and finally let them give me help.
Wow. Okay.
And that's what we did. And we started going to the Center for Change. And they could see that I was very driven. I want help. I need help. I know that I can't do this on my own. I had tried once I realized I had a disorder. I thought I could do this by myself. I'll just start eating more. I can do this, but you can't. The addiction is so strong and the habit is so powerful. You can't do it on your own. And there are so many layers, like I was saying. You have to go to treatment and have them work with those issues underneath. And you just have to be honest with your counselor and have them figure out all the problems that caused the behavior of the eating disorder. It's really just a symptom of other stuff going on underneath. And so you have to get all those worked out to get better. And so that's why I couldn't do it on my own.
Right. Okay.
So at that point, they said, since you're willing to try and everything, we'll have you as an outpatient. They said, you're like the worst we've seen physically. Like they were taking all the measurements and they're like, there's no body fat to even pinch
Oh my goodness.
to do the testing and the
Uh-huh.
weights. And so they were scared. They said her heart could stop at any moment. It was just bad. They were scared. But I came home and I was still battling. I was battling these voices in my mind, just saying, you're not good enough. And that depression and darkness fighting me. And I have never talked about this part in any podcast before.
Mhm.
I've talked about it in my book, and I'm just going to touch on it just a little bit because I don't like bring a lot of attention to dark things.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there's power in knowing what we're facing in life. And so it's time that I can share these things. But like I said, it's in my book anyway. But I just was feeling like I needed extra help fighting these dark thoughts, the adversary just fighting me and not letting me to heal. So I went to my dad and I said, will you give me a blessing? And when he started giving me the blessing, I was physically attacked by darkness. I was seized, like possessed or something. My body flipped to the ground and a whole bunch of scary things happened at that time. But then at the same time, during that, I saw my grandma who had passed away and my sister who had passed away. And they were there in my room telling me everything's going to be okay. And they started to giving me instructions to give to my dad to help cast out what was attacking me. And there were a lot of more details with that situation, but we eventually had to fast and pray to get everything completely cast out and protected, me and the house protected. And
That's incredible. Incredible to have an experience where the power of the priesthood and blessings can help you.
yeah, it was. I was talking to another I won't say his name, but it was a very famous author and public speaker. And I was telling him about that story. And he goes, the same thing happened to me.
Wow.
And he said it was at MTC and same thing happened to me. He goes, Haley, I don't know why, but for some reason, me and you had to have a testimony of Satan and his demons. And for some reason, it's real. God's real and the adversary is real.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tool that the adversary is using nowadays so people think, well, God's not real, Satan's not real, eat, drink, and be merry, right?
Right.
It's a tool he uses, and we need to know it's real so we can always win and we can protect ourselves against that. During that time, I did have a near-death experience where I was actually in a different spiritual place with my grandma and my sister, and they told me that I had a choice if I wanted to live or stay with them. And they showed me like a beautiful future. That's what's amazing is for all that time, I was suicidal. I didn't want to live. I was so depressed.
Right.
For the year before that, I was praying to die. I was so depressed. But then they showed me this future of, oh, we need you to go write a book. We need you to go help other people. You need to go have a family. We want you to go learn sign language and all these different things. And then I was so excited to come back. I know some people, when they have near-death experiences, they're like, I don't want to go back to what's to here, but I didn't feel like that. Well, after they showed me everything, I was like, yes, I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to have this future. And that's one reason why I named my book A Future for Tomorrow, because I finally felt like I had this beautiful future and I was so excited. Then a few days later after that happened, I just kept getting sicker. And what happened is my mind Like I was saying, the brain has to have all that fat to stay healthy and well, but it literally just broke without that nutrient. So then I started going psychotic. The treatments we were doing at home just wasn't enough. So my parents had to take me to the emergency room and at the hospital in Provo. And I didn't even recognize my parents anymore. I didn't know my name. Here I am, I'm 16. I was a 4.0 student. And now I didn't know how to even complete sentences coherent. I didn't understand instructions. I didn't know what to do with a fork anymore. I didn't know how to get dressed. I didn't know how to brush my hair anymore. I didn't know anything. And because I was psychotic, the way I was behaving, they couldn't just put me in the regular part of the hospital. They had to put me in the psych unit of the teenager psych unit. And parents are not allowed to stay in the psych unit. But at the same time, I didn't know how to bathe myself. I didn't know how to brush my hair. I didn't know how to brush my teeth. And so my mom said, I need to be with her to help her. I need to help her do these things. They're like, well, parents aren't allowed. So the first night, they just put me there alone. And I didn't understand why my mom was leaving me and abandoning me. And I didn't know what to do. They had a technician watching me, but I was just fighting with them and wrestling with them because I didn't understand what was happening. I thought they were kidnapping me. My brain was just so confused. And then finally, my mom fought the hospital and says, I am not leaving this girl. Because when she came back, I was worse. I had lost more weight. My hair was tangled. I was in this confused state. I just didn't understand anything. But when she came around, I would calm down.
Wow.
I would calm, and then I would allow her to help to feed me.
What a good mom.
Oh,
That's right there, love. Like she raised you, and I don't think she could fathom losing you.
yeah.
And so she gave her life and continued to.
Yeah, she saved my life completely.
Mm.
So she fought the administration, so she would not have to
Right.
leave.
Good for her.
And yeah, so she hand fed me. She said it was like a toddler. She'd have to tell me when to open my mouth and everything. And she said it would take hours sometimes. But she did. And then she would rub lotion on my arms because, like I said, it was just, my arms were just, the skin was dying. It was like, no. And then she brushed my hair and she had to bathe me because I didn't understand anymore how to do that. And she did everything for me and she saved my life. Literally, she saved my life. Yeah.
Good mom.
Yep.
Good mom. So you were there for a long while, recovering. Your mom helped you.
Yeah. So I ended up being there for a month.
Okay.
Between her just helping me eat and then some medications they put me on to help my brain heal. When they admitted me, the doctor said to her, she's not going to live. They said, my liver and my kidneys were all failing. My heart was the point where it was going to just have a heart attack at any moment.
Okay.
And then the doctor said, so you need to just prepare to know that she's going to pass away.
Oh my goodness.
And then they said, but if she does live, they said, we've never seen anyone this bad before with the combination of this severe anorexia and the severe the psychosis.
Okay.
They said they've never seen the combination of the two that's this bad before ever. And they said if she does like physically make it through, her brain is gone. They said, so just plan on her having to live at like the state mental hospital or something the rest of her life. She's just gone.
Did they tell you any of this, or was this just...
I was gone. Like, my brain, I wasn't
Oh, that's right.
coherent. I couldn't speak to anybody or comprehend anything that was going on.
Okay.
I remember parts of things. Like I remember very clearly the things I wrote in my book. So I remember glimpses of it. And then I also, when I wrote my book, I went and got all my medical records.
Oh.
And so I had over 80 pages of medical records from that stay. I had exact quote of the staff. And because they assigned me one-on-one with technicians that never left my side ever. And they wrote, like, they had to keep a daily log on all my behaviors. So I have all of that written.
Wow.
So I was able to piece that together. My parents, they were writing. I wrote a journal every single day. So in my book, the beginning of it is actual journal excerpts at the beginnings of each chapter. And then once I got into the hospital, the beginning of the chapters are the actual quotes from the technician.
Oh, okay. So having all that information, looking back at it, were you even shocked that you made it through?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like the doctors are like, okay, she's going to die or she's going to be in the hospital, but we believe in miracles. And that's what happened is a miracle.
Yeah.
I don't think because I was with my grandma and my sister,
Mhm.
and they told me you can pick, and I chose to live, and I knew I was gonna live. So at times, if my mom was scared, I would tell her, I'm gonna be okay. Once I started recovering my brain a little bit, so almost a month later, I was able to tell her I had flashes of coherence moment.
Uh-huh.
And when I had those flashes, I would tell her, I'm gonna be okay. But those were just short little just moments of miracle for her to have
Right.
that comfort. But a lot of the times I was just in this delusional state.
So fun.
Yeah. Like I said, we believe in miracles, and that's
Yep.
what we had is a miracle there.
Yeah. Awesome. So you went home after a month
Mhm.
and you just recovered? Okay.
I had to have a counselor still. I still had to have the medications and work through all those layers. So that's very important to treatment.
Okay. So out of all of this that happened, what are some things that you feel you learned from all of this? There's a lot.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what stands out to you?
I think the number one thing I learned is that Heavenly Father will always have my back. He will always be there for me. He will always make sure that I'm okay and that things will be okay and that miracles are real. Angels are real.
Yeah. Love that. That's so good. So to those people who are struggling with these kind of trials and troubles in their lives, do you have any specific tips?
Yeah. I think I mentioned it, but absolutely you need to get help to heal.
Right.
It is a deadly illness and the statistics of death go down significantly. If you it's 20% death rate if you don't get help, and that goes down to 2% if you get help.
Really?
So you need to get help. And the other thing is find a passion to get better because it becomes part of your identity. For me, I was like, I'm the girl with the eating disorder. I'm the girl, the anorexic girl. If I'm not that, who am I? And it becomes your identity. So find a passion so that becomes your identity. For me, well, like I said, my sister and my grandma, they told me to learn sign language.
Oh, that's right.
And for me now, I love it. I have deaf friends and I actually teach sign
You
language
teach it.
classes.
Yeah.
I love it so much, but I didn't realize at the time that actually helped me heal because I all of a sudden was the girl that knew sign language. I learned it so quick. It was like I was remembering it. And then just a few months later, after I started learning it, I met one of my best friends ever, and she's deaf.
Oh, okay.
It became my passion. It became my way of healing because it became my new identity.
Right.
So I was obsessed about my eating. Now I could be obsessed about sign language. It could become my, not obsessed, but my passion, right?
Right.
So it gave me something else to focus on instead of, oh, how much should I eat? Instead of that, I can switch and I could go study my sign language. And it became my new identity. It became my new passion. So that's what you need to do. When you're in the process of trying to heal from your eating disorder, find your passion. That's my tip.
I think totally by praying and by adding people to help, you can find that passion. You can. And
Yep.
having your support and family. What is one final message that you want to leave our listeners?
That every person has a purpose on earth and a mission on earth. And it's something that I learned through my experience I had is just how individual that purpose and plan is and how valued you are as a child of God, and to pray to know your purpose and to know how valued you are and how loved you are, and know that there are angels around you to support you to complete that mission, and just know that true and that you are so valued. But that's
Beautiful. I love it. That's wonderful. Haley, do you have some way or some place that you want people to contact you? Do you have Facebook?
Yeah, so definitely. I have Facebook and Instagram. You can find me just at Haley Hatch Freeman. On my website is haleyhfreeman.com, and you can get my books on there. I have the one I've been talking about today, which is a future for tomorrow, but I've also written some children's books. I've spoken at a lot of events, and women come up to me and say, we absolutely love your book for like me and my teenager. This is so sad. It's heartbreaking, but though it's my second grader or my 5-year-old or whatever that's having body image issues or self-esteem issues or whatever. And so I started writing children's books. So check those out as well. And again, at haleyhfreeman.com, you can get them.
That's great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you talking to me. And next week, we are going to share Misty's story. She also has an awesome miracle story.
Right. Well, thank you, Haley. That was incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Latter-day Miracles. If you have a miracle story that you feel inspired to share, we'd love to hear from you. Contact us on our website at latterdaymiracles.net or message us on social media.
Until next time, keep your heart open to the miraculous and may you feel the presence of angels in your everyday life.